ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Embody Your Empress, the podcast where you can open up, hear a new perspective, and maybe give you some inspiration. Today, we have a beautiful guest, Sarah-Jayne McNaughton. And Sarah-Jayne is an expert at business coaching, putting on retreats, and getting that business but holistic flow really and all its juicy goodness coming through so that you can be successful in what you choose to do. Sarah-Jayne, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction, Sarah.
You are so welcome. Only the best for my guests, right?
100%.
Do you want to expand a little bit more on that, Sarah-Jayne? Like, tell us who you are, tell us who you help, and how you do that best way.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you had have asked me this question a couple of years ago, I would have said I was a corporate leader. I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was very successful, making money, traveling all the time, had property, active social life, all of those things. So I should have been really happy, right? But deep inside, I was actually really miserable. And I had a lot of up and downs in my emotions. And again, I should have been extremely happy and grateful, and I simply wasn't. And I started to ask myself, what am I doing? There must be more to life than this. So these days, I'm extremely privileged that I now get to live this life that's really aligned for me. That brings true joy and happiness, that I can be of service and in full gratitude for all those beautiful things that I have and I do now. And something that's quite rare for people to experience. So I do feel fortunate about that. And the way I do that is I work in a couple of different areas. So first of all, I am a speaker on nervous system regulation and stress management. Those two things have been absolutely critical and foundational to my personal journey in the last few years. And things that we don't talk about enough, I would say. I also love running various types of retreats around that as well. Retreats are so transformative because they're intense and immersive. So that combination, I believe, leads to lasting change. So I love running retreats. And I'm also a coach, and I specifically coach people that are at the beginning, the beginners in the world. Because for me, it was such a struggle. It was such a struggle to be bad at something, to be at the beginning of something. So, in my personal transformation and life strategy type coaching, I tend to attract clients who are going through that transition I described, where they should be happy, they have it all, this incredible life, and they're not. They're out of alignment, they feel tired. And facing that realization that you didn't actually just come here to work, pay bills, and die, but to actually do something that's fulfilling and purposeful in life. So I really help people with those huge transitions and support them through that. In the corporate leadership coaching space, I work mostly with emerging leaders or people in their very first management roles. We usually reserve coaching for some reason for executives. And really, we need that support when we're going through that huge emotional transition, doing something for the first time, and being promoted from part of the team to leading people is really massive. And then finally, what you touched on in my absolute passion project at the moment is business coaching. And again, specifically working with solopreneurs or partnerships or people at the very beginning of their business journey. So I run these 2-day masterminds where people come along and they get the community and networking aspect because it's really quite lonely working by yourself. I'm also a very action orientated coach. So there's a lot of action that happens in these weekends. You do more in 48 hours than you do in months. Plus, we look after all the nervous system management and the stress management and all of that as well. And look for alignment and clarity in what we're doing. So our businesses are built on what we're supposed to be doing from a purpose perspective as well. That's really important. So creating that curated environment to help people do that. And of course, people can coach with me after that as well. So that's my very long-winded answer because I do a lot of things. But yeah, hopefully that answers the question. Mostly love to work with beginners and people who are bad at stuff at the beginning.
I love it. I love it. I love it all. I love it all so much. Okay, some things. Retreats, I think, are wonderful. Not
Mhm.
only are they intensive transformation, But you get to do that in a space where you're not going home at the end of the day thinking about, I've got to do the dishes and the washing and everything else. So your nervous system is actually set up for success because you're held in that safe container. And I think that's really taken for granted. Just a little side note there, Sarah on her rant, like it's really important. A lot of people haven't been on retreats and don't understand actually the power of them. The work that you're doing, the processes you're doing with people actually are magnified because they're so focused in, and you get to say yes for yourself by doing that. So super excited.
100%.
It's just my little like personal, I love retreats so much.
Me too. And I think if you think of everything being energy, frequency, and vibration, if you're doing work either on yourself or on your business or on your life, and you're doing it in a space that's energetically, at a frequency that is more conducive to success, more conducive to, where you want to be alignment wise, you're actually naturally going to have a better outcome. So having that curated environment is really about energetics. So it's super critical. That's why it's so transformational, and that's why the change is lasting usually, I find anyway. Yeah.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I
Mm.
love that you said, you get to the point where you go, there's more to life. And I feel like we're around so many, particularly women, like men as well, but particularly women going, there's more to life than this cookie cutter way that we've been told we have to progress through everything and check off the checklist. And then we get to a point and we just go, what are we doing? And we're not in alignment. And then it gets scary and overwhelming because you go, I've come so far from where I thought I was or who I am at an essence. Where do you start to get back there?
Yeah, I mean, I think firstly, supporting people through that realization, because it is really confronting. And it's something that we tend to push away for a really long time. So for me, it's really about unpacking it nice and slowly, making sure that we're bringing in a lot of nervous system regulation and support around understanding how, on a physical level, our body's reacting to this way of being as well, and making sure we're supporting that part. And then doing a lot of work around connecting the mind and the body to ensure that they're sort of again in the same frequency. And then I think the other piece is really helping people understand that whatever they want to have is okay, because we actually get to this point because we should be happy with what we're told to have. And the real danger is when we actually say, well, actually, I'm not happy with what I'm doing right now. I know I should be, but I'm not. And that piece, the reaction that you get to that piece, especially from people closest to you, is really confronting. So it's about seeking out support, I think, and getting help through that process is the first step. And really having someone that says to you, it's okay to want whatever you want. It actually doesn't matter what it is that you want. And also, let's explore who you are, because you probably don't know. Most of my clients, their biggest thing is, I actually don't know what I want and who I am. So we start there. But I think the first step is to get support.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you are allowed to have whatever you want, whatever your heart desires. Like I was listening to The Secret the other day in the car, and my daughter we were doing the school run, and she was just like, what do you mean? What do you mean I can just have whatever I desire? Don't I have to ask you? And I'm like, oh, honey, I'm like, in the world, like you can get asking just the universe for whatever you want. And believe in it, watch the magic unfold, feel it. It's true. And see how play with it, like play with the energy of what is possible and what your heart desires, because I can't tell you what your heart desires. And it was like to see a 9-year-old have this like clicking over in their brain. And I'm like, okay, we need to go back and we need to listen to this some more, like together as a family unit. I'm like, this is really cool. It was so powerful. Just like the 30 seconds in the car, I'm like, cool. This is like, it really got me excited. And I love that, you're like, it's okay to try new things and like suck at them. And when you have someone supporting you and in your corner, knowing that it's okay, you're gonna be terrible at things forever. Like when it's new, it's like going back to learn something new as a child, right? And we did it all the time as children, and yet we get so rigid and so narrow and focused on the right way, air
Yes.
quotes, of
Yeah.
doing life, that we forget that it's okay to be challenged and it's okay to be scared and step into that fear and be uncomfortable and be expanded. And that is where the magic does happen when you chase those desires. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
100%. And I always say to my clients, we are wired as human beings to look at the worst case scenario. If you think about it fundamentally, our nervous system is wired to look at the worst case scenario, and also if that thing occurs, we will die. Like that's how extreme our reaction is. And it's all subconscious before we can think about it. So I always talk to my clients about consciously choosing our thoughts more like, well, isn't it kind of as likely it will work out as it won't? Isn't it like a 50-50 shot? Maybe it's actually more skewed towards success. So when we think about it from that lens and we feed our subconscious those thoughts, we get a little bit braver, but also it expands our possibilities because we're shutting things down before they're even possible. Before it's even
Mm,
possible for us to think I could do this and I could do that, even the small steps. So it's always like choosing the second thought. So going, well, yeah, it's probably going to be catastrophic, or isn't it like just as likely it'll be fine? And just
mm,
having like a rational conversation with ourselves. Um, and then being okay to be bad at it because we're just going to get better. And actually, it's not catastrophic and we aren't going to die if this goes poorly. We're just going to be bad at it for a little while. That's not that horrendous,
mm.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I'm just like reflecting that on my life and,
Yeah.
situations like I moved to Australia from small town New Zealand when I was 20 years old, like so naive, packed a suitcase, had $1,500 and jumped on a plane and moved to Aussie because that's what we all did as Kiwis.
Mhm.
And I moved straight to the Gold Coast, got an apartment in Surfers, and, really now I'm a citizen, so I love it. What I loved the most, and this only like came back into my consciousness the other day, is
Hmm.
the mindset that I walked into when I got off that plane. Because there is a particular mindset that Australians have, particularly on the Gold Coast, that anything is possible. And that was so prevalent coming from small town New Zealand, where tall poppy syndrome is like the thing. You don't want to outgrow anyone. You don't want to do anything too different. You want to be really like mainstream and keep to the status quo. Over here, anything and everything was possible if you desired it. And that really ingrained like at a cellular level with me. And I just
Beautiful.
wish you could bottle that up. And that's what you do in your coaching, right? You bottle that up and you share that magic with everyone.
Yeah. 100. I love that. That's a beautiful reflection. And it's not, yeah, I've never really heard anyone describe that before. So it's really nice to hear. Um, that yeah, that we sort of have that vibe here. That was just nice to hear.
Mm.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess if you're around that, like you don't really
Yeah.
get that contrast. I mean, that's
Hmm.
why so many Kiwis move to the Gold Coast, right? I mean, that's what I like. We are so
Yeah.
drawn to that
Mhm.
beautiful energy that's around there, and I love it. Just
Mm.
anything is possible, and you see that with the way that people dress, what they drive, how they move, the vacations they take. The
Mm.
business moves they take. They're bold and they just hold it so well. And
Yeah.
when you're around those people, you soak it up. You
Mhm.
enjoy that, being around that frequency. I wanted to ask Sarah, you talk a lot about nervous system regulation
Mhm.
and stress.
Mhm.
For anyone listening who is not sure what nervous system regulation is, what is the easiest way to explain that?
Oof, okay, I'll have to be careful here because I could talk about this one for hours. So I'll try and keep it nice and concise. So essentially our nervous system is like the operating system of our body. So if we think about our body having hardware, our limbs and organs and things, and then software being our thoughts, emotions, processes. And then, so I'm likening this to a computer at this stage, obviously. And then we've got our operating system, which is our kind of invisible system that reacts and controls everything before we have a chance to intercept it most of the time. And there's a couple of parts to it. There's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So, there's our fight and flight reaction. So when we are in genuine or perceived danger, our body will react to either basically to get us out of the situation. That might be removing yourself, it might be shutting down, it might be reacting aggressively, whatever you need to do to survive in that moment. And again, that happens quite instantly, and it's for real or perceived danger. And then there's the part that we're able to regulate on a regular basis to really help us with our capacity to handle stresses when they hit us, because stresses are going to hit us, right? And there's good stresses and bad stresses, and all of them will happen. All of them are required to some capacity, but our nervous system regulation is really about what we do on a regular basis to keep our operating system free flowing, calm, and in a state of I guess regulation and balance is another way to say it. So that when a stressor hits us, good or bad, we're able to recover quickly, we're able to react appropriately, and control a little bit more around how we deal with stress. So it's really our ability to recover from stresses. So, um, there's the physical part, which is the vagus nerve, which is the biggest nerve in our body. It runs through most of our body. We can access it at certain points. So there's things that we can do to stimulate the vagus nerve on a regular basis to keep ourselves again in that really calm state. There's also, if you think about experiencing something like anxiety, for example, what you'll find is it's like hot air rising. So your body will start to react on a physical level before the mind starts to do the whirly thing that you're trying to calm down. So one thing we can do, so you might get the sweaty palms, you might get shakes, you might get flushing, you might get really tense shoulders, fists, and then the last thing is the mind races and you can no longer articulate a thought, for example. So what we can do in those moments is also use our nervous system to consciously intercept that and bring that hot air down. So I use a lot of practices in the moment of stress, of heightened stress and anxiety, to calm and bring that down through, quietening the mind, stopping the processing here first, being the last thing that's affected, and working in reverse, essentially. So again, there's so much to it, but basically the main thing you need to know is it's the main operating body system in the body. It's half of it's reactive before we have a chance to intercept. The other half we have complete control over how balanced and regulated we keep it on a regular basis in order to recover from any stressor that hits us, good or bad, as quickly and effectively as possible in the way that we want to, in a controlled way. And yeah, that's probably the quickest explanation I can give you. Does that make sense? Is there any further questions around that?
No, I love that. I love that. And one of my favorite tips for people is the more you practice these things to help you out of the moment, the easier it is to call them in the moment. Because often we wait till we're like, oh, I'm about to reach my point. Oh, what was that thing? What was that thing Sarah-Jayne was trying to tell me about? If you're actually practice them regularly, then you instantly, it's more of a subconscious switch rather than the conscious switch going, okay, it's time now. It's time to act and bring it in. Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have the tips and the tools in the toolbox ready to go for whenever you need them.
Yeah, 100%. I always talk about this sort of monitoring, management. There's like the monitoring piece. So it's always like constantly understanding where you're at, where you're feeling, because the thing is, we can actually be like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And maybe there has been a difficult morning with the kids and there's been lots to do and the work, and then the phone call comes in and you think you're handling everything, but you're actually like at a little bit of a higher stress level. And then it just takes one thing and it's like a completely out of control reaction instead of a controlled reaction. So you're right. If you're starting from a baseline that is more balanced and calm, and there's things we can do to maintain that, then, again, it's that ability to bounce back when a stressor hits.
And also having compassion, like when you reach that peak level, like not beating yourself up over it, because even people like me who do it all the time, who talk to people all the time about this, look, I still get to peak level at times. Like the other day, everything just went wrong. And to top it off, my hot water tap in the shower broke, so it was coming out full ball and I didn't know what to do and I just lost it. So, we're all human. Like, we have these
Yes.
ranges of emotions and experiences, and feeling what's happening in our body is,
Mm.
it's a life lesson to understand, and we get the privilege of experiencing it. And when you've got the tools, like, you might, like, I cried it out for 5 minutes and then I'm like, okay, Sarah, let's get to work. And I
Yeah.
took myself through the practices that I teach people, and I
Yeah.
know they work, and I trust that they work, and they do in those situations. Like, when you practice, it's very easy. I say easy, but it's very comforting to know that you can bring yourself back to a beautiful, peaceful state. And that is one of the power plays in life. Like, when you can have that in your back pocket to go, like, you can do anything. Like, it doesn't matter what's going to come at you. You don't need to worry, because you know how to move through those roller coasters of life that are always going to happen.
100%, 100%. Yeah. It's about bringing back the inner strength and like trusting yourself that you've got your back, and it comes back to self-love. And there's so many aspects that all of these topics affect, and that they stem from. And yeah, again, I could talk about this for hours. So
Oh, absolutely. And knowing that
yeah.
you're worthy of
Mm,
having these tools, like, I
100%.
think, that due to conditioning when you're young, it can be so easy to be like, you know, all the suck it up, push down the emotions, just do it, especially as women again. But you're actually worthy of learning your body and
Yep.
what affects it and how to regulate. And that's really, really important as a tool. Oh my goodness. My little babies here are going wild. Beautiful. And I love what you mentioned earlier as well about working with management, working with that
Mm,
early entry level management.
yeah.
What kind of challenges are they facing?
Oh, so many. And unfortunately, it is, like I said, a little bit underestimated. So what we tend to do, and I'm very big advocate for sort of coaching, sorry, for training. I came from the learning and development space, but there's very little coaching when you're first going into those roles, and people have very different experiences. I'd say some of the main ones that I see that are most challenging are managing other people's emotional states. So all of a
Um,
sudden you're in charge of people's emotional health and well-being. And that's a lot of pressure, first of all. Um, and also there's different ways to do that, and people are different. So sometimes I think the other thing is too, when we go to work and we're doing a job, we do it our way, we see the world our way, and when somebody else is doing that job, we pass judgment on how they're doing that. So when you're seeing somebody else doing a job, it's very natural to be like, oh, you need to do it this way, for example, and whatnot. And that can be a real struggle for people to understand that people are different, first of all, and that there's a spectrum of people and there's ways to handle different emotional reactions and types of personalities and whatnot. So, foundationally, I mean, I think even that, it sounds so crazy when I say it out loud, but I actually feel like that foundational knowledge of humans interacting with humans is missing, which is so critical for leadership. I mean, leaders are fully responsible for the emotional well-being while people are at work of the people that report to them. So really important that we understand that responsibility and take it seriously. Um, I think the other thing that I see too is when people are promoted within an organization, sometimes there's two parts. There's sometimes they're promoted on their skill, like their mechanical skills in the job, and not necessarily their leadership skills. And they are skills. They require you to be trained and developed in and to practice in. It's not something just like some people have it naturally, but still, even then, there's practice required, there's time required, etc. So I do feel like people aren't necessarily supported in that transition. And then the other piece with the internal promotions I see is that you're going from being a peer to leading the group. So you kind of know who's performing, who's not performing. Like you kind of have all this inside knowledge that's actually easy to not have when you're managing a team. And there's a lot of emotional internal pieces around that. That's probably not really addressed. And then the fourth one I see most commonly is that communication, like the communicating up, because it's a
Mm.
completely different communication style to get what you need up and down and sideways. And yeah. So they're the main ones I would say. I feel like we train people in those things, but people need personalized support because they're coming from a different space. The people they're now managing are coming from a different space, and that support would just make life so much easier. We see far too high rates of burnout and stress in leaders, particularly new leaders. And by the time we're supporting executives with coaching, not their fault, but there's a bit of a trail of destruction a lot of the time behind them. And yeah, we could just be intercepting this so much earlier. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one. And also, the person's very, very burnt out. They've kind of learned all of the lessons as well. So I just feel like we could be intercepting uh, the emotional skills much earlier and supporting people through that transition of understanding who they are as a person, how they present, what they need to work on in a very personalized way. The training again is really critical, but it's very broad. It's very cookie cutter, and we need very personal work on the bits that we're missing in our leadership roles because it's such a critical job. I mean, leaders make or break businesses 100% in corporate. And yeah, we just need that earlier interception and very personalized skills development. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Do you think that's why it holds a lot of good potential leaders back because they don't back themselves in these areas?
I think it does. Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, in my experience, my own experience was that I was promoted like 5 years after they started asking me to promote me, and I was resistant because I was like, why would I do that? It's like so much more stress, so much more responsibility. And it was just there was a mismatch there in balance. I'm like, I'm gonna need like a lot of support and mentoring so that I can do this well because I took the responsibility very seriously of being responsible for other human beings' emotional states. And I think that we can really just underestimate that, how important that is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's quite common to people to step into a leadership role and then go, whoa, what have I gotten into? How do I get out of this now?
The burnout level is incredible, especially in new leaders or middle managers.
Mm,
Team leader levels like it is really high, way too high.
mm,
And it's
mm,
all emotional. It's not like I've got too much work.
mm.
It's I'm
Yeah.
I'm struggling with the emotional toll. I'm not communicating well. I feel like I am picking up workload off my employees. So I don't know how to delegate effectively. And again, we have all this training for that, but it's very cookie cutter, and we need personalized support for people to understand their specific gaps in the leadership spectrum of skills.
Mm. So emotional intelligence is a
100%.
great factor here in leadership, which some people
Mhm.
dismiss as even being a real thing.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's wild, right?
What? Are we in the
Yeah.
same world here? I'm not really sure on that.
Yeah.
I do know a really effective manager, and they are like my number one
Mhm.
job is to check on my team and make sure they are okay. That
Yes.
is his number one job, and I really admire that. Like
Mm.
everything else comes second to making sure they are okay.
Mhm.
And I'm
Well,
like,
it comes back to even if we liken it to the environment spaces around the retreats that we're talking about, it's about having an environment where people can naturally thrive and feel energetically a little bit higher or where closer to where they want to be. And if you create an environment where people are comfortable and they're happy, they will just actually naturally do their jobs better anyway. Like you should put all of your focus and attention there and hardly any on what they're doing mechanically. And that's the emotional
mm,
intelligence side for sure.
oh my gosh, there we go. I just feel like that needs to be captured and just sent around everywhere. Like every corporation, every company, please just listen to this little bit right here.
Mm.
Oh, I love it. And Sarah-Jayne, you offer 2-day mastermind
Mhm.
containers, right? Tell us some more about that.
Oh yeah, I'm very happy to talk about that. I just came off one this weekend at Montville. So yes, with these, I mean, I started these because I was actually sitting by the pool in Bali with my bintang and I was thinking about, what I wanted to
It's a
do
hard
next.
life.
And yeah, I know, and that's when all the best ideas come. Again, you're
They
creating that
do.
environment for expansion,
Exactly.
for
Hmm.
just alignment and just doing what, feeling joy and gratitude and all of that. And I thought, what I really needed was when I made the transition from employee to entrepreneur, I felt initially excited and alone in my excitement. So a lot of my friends still had traditional jobs, so they weren't. I was working on the weekends, and they were free on the weekends, and I just spent a lot of time. And I couldn't talk to them about my business problems and things like that. So I was like, you know what, I need to get people together that are either right at the beginning, or they're stuck, or they've been in it for a long time, and they just don't have community around them to talk to, or even people that are still employees that know they want a business but have no idea where to start, what it would be in, that clarity piece, right? So I thought, all right, well, I'll start these masterminds. It's a couple of critical elements. First of all, it's the curated environment. So it's got to be in a quiet space, very natural, beautiful accommodation. Everyone gets their own bedroom and bathroom, so they have space to unwind and be and process. And what happens is they sleep like logs, which is amazing. But they've got their own space, and then we've got this beautiful co-created space, and I've got breakout areas, and the space is extremely intentional. And again, I'm a very action orientated coach. So I run lots of accountability groups, and I have lots of processes and frameworks and tools because that's how I'm wired as a person. So there's always the space there for action. So it's the days are broken up into co-working spaces. So you're working on your own business in your own way, but we're just in the same energy. So if you think about like going to a cafe and working instead of at home, if you're a bit blocked, I do that all the time. So so it's really set up for action taking in that sense. We have these blocks where you're working on your own thing, but in the environment, it's really important. Then we have masterminding sessions. So people can, share what it is that they're experiencing that they're struggling with. So it can be an emotional or mindset piece. I don't think I should be charging this much, or I don't know how to charge, for example. Or it can be something really mechanical. I don't know how to run Facebook ads, or who my target audience is. And the collective experience in the room gives advice and masterminds and comes up with solutions and helps people through, and that is so powerful because you will always hear things that you've never thought of yourself, and you can then go away the very next minute and action it, so you're actioning on the spot. So there's the two pieces, there's the ideas and the action happening at the same time. We do lots of nervous system things. We do breath work. We do nature walks. We cook together and eat together, and all of that piece is there as well. And then there's the mindset and coaching piece. So I'm coaching you through any mindset blocks, giving you clarity on your business and really focused on you and what you're trying to create, and helping you do that from a coaching perspective. So yeah, and these people, I mean, most of them will rebook their next mastermind straight away with the same group. They're now besties, right? And they all live in the same area. So I do these in locationally. So you come, because the idea is that you're also meeting people that can be in your network, that you can use each other's services, sure, but also like that you can call up and have a coffee because I'm struggling with something, and all my friends have jobs. So there's that aspect to it as well. So yeah, it's really they become best friends, and they all use each other's services and shout at each other. And then they come to the masterminds, 3 months later together, and yeah, it's just really beautiful. So yeah, again, long-winded answer, but there's basically the four components to it that make it really unique and special, and that environmental factor means that people just naturally work harder. I create the environment and you come along, you don't have to think about anything. It's beautiful, it's made for work, and people come and they just get so much done. I kind of just sit back and go, what do you need?
Yeah.
So
You
cool.
create the atmosphere for success, right?
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Oh, I
just
love
love doing
it.
those at the moment. They're my absolute passion projects, and I'm going to just run them everywhere, all over Australia and New Zealand next year. But yeah, they're so good.
I love how your face lights up when you talk about them.
Mm.
So if someone wanted to get involved with that, how can
Okay.
they check out, see if there's a location near them?
Yeah, so I actually just today posted on my socials. So one of my businesses is Power Peace Prosper. That's sort of the coaching and the business side of things. So Power Peace Prosper is my Instagram. And then my email address is powerpeaceprosper@gmail.com. You can just reach out and I'll send you out some information. But yeah, all the dates are listed on the socials as of today.
Oh, love it. So easy. And we will drop the links to those in the description as well. All right,
Awesome.
Sarah, I have some beautiful questions to finish
Mhm,
out our conversation.
mhm,
Put your Empress crown on.
mhm.
We're going to
Love
start
that.
with, how do you embody your Empress?
Oh, how do you embody your Empress? I think it's really asking myself these days, it's before I do anything, is this an absolute 100% yes? And if it's not, it's a no. So I really am very conscious of the fact that we have such a small amount of time here and I get to spend it how I want. So I'm super critical on how I spend my time and I do things that I love and I'm passionate about above all else. So yeah, but it comes back to the question, is this an 100% yes? And if it's not, it's a no.
I love it. I love it so much.
Hmm.
Okay. What does your Empress energy feel like?
It feels like ease and flow. When I think about my old life and it was so good, I was doing all the coolest stuff in the world, and it always felt like an uphill battle, and I had to keep holding on to it and struggle and claw to the next thing. Now it feels like things come in and it's ease and flow and they come out. So, yeah, ease and flow.
I love that. You're just trusting in the divine, and what
Hmm.
is was meant is
Yeah.
perfect. Oh, and what are your parting words of wisdom for inspiring your nation out there?
Oof, my parting words. That's a huge responsibility. Let me think about that one. Um, I think it just
The
everything
background
comes.
music.
Yeah. Everything comes back to energy, frequency, and vibration. You're in control of it. You set the tone. So, if something doesn't feel right, look right, taste right, not what you want it to be, change your energetic state first because everything you think, feel, behave emits a frequency and you can change it to change the outcome. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I would say if you think of everything coming back to that, um, changing your life becomes easier.
I love it. And the more you practice that, the easier
Mm-hmm.
and easier and easier it becomes.
100%. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah-Jayne.
Yeah.
I feel like that spoke to a lot of people, whether they be in more traditional roles.
Mm.
Perhaps they've been nagged at by upper management to be like, hey, come on, take some more responsibility. Or those people who are out there thinking, do I want to step out and start my own business? Because not having a support system is a dramatic thing. And I love that you're providing solutions to that by building the collective support around what people need, where they need it, and that they can actually continue on with it. It's not just a 2 day thing. It's not just a 2 day support. It's actually continuous after that with the relationships you build. So you're offering
Mm.
so much to so many people. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for everything you do in terms of empowering women and making them feel like they can do what they want and what they're here to do. I love all of the work that you do around that energy and alignment as well. And I love your podcast. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I mean, it's the most important thing. Yay, I love it. All right, we'll
Yeah.
chat soon. I'd
All
love to
right.
chat.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.